Welcome to the DAMES webinar series. We're so excited to have you today. At DAMES, Differently Abled Mothers Empowerment Society, we aim to empower parents with educational webinars just like this one. Enjoy!
Hi, Dames members. Thank you for being here today. And I'm so excited to have you here for the Dames webinar series. Today, we're focusing on advocacy in Arizona. This won't be a very long presentation. I wanted to make it short and sweet so you get a really good understanding of how advocacy works and how you can be involved in the advocacy process here. And it kind of works like this with the turtle that's like, it sits there and then he goes, which I have just learned firsthand this year. Okay, so what are we going to review? We're going to go over what the legislative process is, how you introduce bills, how you find your district, how you find out who your legislators are, how you contact them, what do they want to see, what do they usually ask for, and how you can use the request to speak system in Arizona to actually show what your position is on different bills and how you navigate that system. So we'll get started. What's a legislative process in Arizona look like? So first you have to get a person to sponsor a bill on your behalf. But once you do, the process looks like this. The bills are dropped and branded, so they're given a number. Bills are then assigned to different committees. If the bills are scheduled for a committee hearing, if the bill does not get scheduled for a committee hearing, then the bill is dead. So I know most of you know that I was sponsoring legislation this year, and this is where it unceremoniously died. We were not given a committee hearing, but we will run it again next year. It was probably pretty typical for this legislative session because they were basically doing 2 years worth of bills in 1 year. So we'll go back and we'll get it done. Once, once assigned for a hearing, the bills are heard and the public can give testimony for or against the bill. And I'll show you how to do that. But it's a very important part of this process so that legislators know that the community has backing and support of that bill. Bill is then open for amendments, so the bill can be changed. A bill that's dropped here in the beginning can be amended over time through this process. So during this public hearing, we can amend the bills. The bills then move out of committee or it dies in the committee if it doesn't pass. If it passed, it goes to rules. If the bill is amended, it goes to a committee called Committee of the Whole, and that's when the full Senate votes on it. If the bill that you are supporting doesn't amend, if it doesn't amend a voter approved initiative, then you only need 2/3 of the Senate to approve that bill to move it forward. If, however, the bill that you are sending to the floor needs to amend a voter approved initiative, then you will have to get 3/4 of the vote in order for that bill to move forward. So this whole process happens in the beginning in the Senate. So you have a bill, it's dropped, it's branded, it goes to committees. The bills are heard or scheduled for meeting in the committees. If it's not, then it dies. Okay, during committee hearings, the public can go in and give testimony for those bills. Okay, if the bill moves out of committee, it goes to rule. And then it goes to the Committee of the Whole for a vote. And after all of this work in the Senate, the House, then this bill goes to the House, and the whole process is repeated over again. And it's the exact same process in the House as it is for the Senate. So what happens is both of these different groups start with different bills. So they work their way through those bills and then they switch and then they work through each other's bills. And that's where we are right now. So you'll see I'll go through examples on their website And I'll show you, you can see now that Senate bills are now in the House, and the House is reviewing and approving Senate bills. Now, if the second body changes a bill, so if a bill starts in the Senate and it goes into the House, and during the committee hearing, the House changes the bill, if the sponsor agrees to them, then the bill goes back to the Senate, okay, and they do a final read, and everybody is okay with what happens in the changed process that the bill is changed. If the second body changes the bill and the sponsor of that bill doesn't agree with the changes that were made in the second group, then they go to a committee of the compromise. And both groups come together and they try to compromise on final language for the bill. Then the bills go to the governor's office for his signature. And that's basically how it works. And it's really kind of fascinating. But once the bills get going, you're kind of in a sprint. So if you're running legislation, you really want to make sure that you have sponsors, you have your language, you have your fact sheet, you have all of your stuff prepped so that when the bill gets dropped, you can really hit the ground running. All right. So, how do you introduce a bill? Can anybody just introduce a bill? No, I can't go up to the Capitol and be like, hey, I really want to drop this bill. You have to find either a House representative or a senator to support your bill. So, you contact your local legislator, will tell you how to find out who your legislators are. And if you can't find your local legislator, I was very lucky. I'm in Legislative District 18, and I emailed my senator about the issue that I wanted to address, and he emailed me right back. And then we were able to drop a bill this legislative session. And if you're in a legislative district and you're emailing your senators, and you're emailing your representatives, and you're not going anywhere, then it might be time to look outside and maybe find another senator or another representative who is very passionate about the bill that you are proposing. So, how do you find your district? So, Arizona is broken up into 30 different legislative districts. And most of you probably know that this last year we went through a census. So after census, then they're going to go through and redistrict. So for right now, you might look up what your legislative district is, but after redistricting, you're going to have to look again because it might change depending on census data. But right now, this is what our legislative districts look like. And if you go to this website here, arizonaredistricting.org/district locator, you can put in your address, your mailing address, and they will tell you what district that you're in. Once you know your district, then you can find your legislator. So, what does our legislature look like right now? So, we have 30 legislative districts, and we have one senator from each of those districts. And right now, we're still Republican controlled in Arizona, but very, very slightly. So, in the Senate, we have 16 Republicans to 14 Democrats. And in the House of Representatives, you get two representatives for each district. So that's 60 total. And again, Republicans are still in charge, but slightly. So we have 31 Republicans to 29 Democrats. What does that mean? Why do we care if the Republicans or if the Democrats are in charge? Well, if there's a majority of Republicans in the Senate, that means that they chair all of the different committees inside the government, which means that that chairperson, if it's a Republican, she gets to pick which bills go into committee. I heard somebody say that this was where it becomes more of a dictatorship than a democracy, where that chairperson really can say if your bill lives or dies. And so my bill was up in the Health and Human Services Committee in the Senate, and she totally killed it because she didn't call for a hearing. So that's why it's important who is in charge of these different groups because they have the power to call the bills that they want to hear. So it's very important too that when you're thinking about bills and running bills, that you try to find a mix of somebody who's going to sponsor your bill, maybe who's a Democrat, but maybe try to get somebody who's going to support it, who's a Republican. Another great way you can think about running bills is you can try to open bills up in both houses at the same time. So if you look, there's a bill going through right now that talks about getting spina bifida to be a DDD qualified disability. And what they did is they had a bill go through the Senate and had a bill go through the House. And so what that means is it's given it a higher likelihood of getting into a committee hearing and going through the process, right? So if the bill on the Senate side didn't make a committee hearing, but the bill on the House did, right? Then the bill is still alive because it's still alive in this chamber. So it's a good way like to strategize how you can get a bill through. So once you know what your legislative district is, you can go to this website, azleg.gov/member roster, and you look for your district number, and then that will help you find who your representatives are and who your senators are. And you want to maybe just jot them down and know who they are. And what I like to do to build relationships with my senator, with my representatives, is if I hear they're doing good things out in the public, I'll send them an email. Like it's called catch them doing something good. So if they're doing something really great, be like, hey, Senator Bowie, I really love, that you worked on this bill and you're passed this bill and it got through Cal. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And so you're just, you're showing that you're watching and that you're appreciative of their work and building a relationship with them so that later when you make an ask, they're more receptive to listen to you and to have a meeting with you about what you want to accomplish. So, how do you contact your legislator? On that website, usually there's a phone number, a mailing address, and email. Honestly, what we're hearing right now is they prefer the phone call. They want to hear from you through a phone call. Letters are kind of hard to get to them right now because a lot of them are working at home. Um, and it's just slower. Emails, you just want to be very careful. Emails, sometimes we send out things like contact your legislator and ask them to support whatever, whatever, whatever. We always want to make sure whenever we're emailing our legislators that we're not sending the same email as everybody else. We don't want a scripted email. We always want to say, this is the bill I want to support, and this is why it's personally important to me. And then you send that out. If you want them to help run a bill for you, you have a great idea for a bill and you want to know if you can work on a legislation with them, first of all, try to contact your legislators. Tell them you're a constituent. That's the first line in any email that I sent to Bowie. I was like, I am your constituent. I always vote. I'm very proud of the work that you did on whatever, 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 right? So I researched him. I looked at his history and the kinds of bills that he was passing. And I said, thank you for passing this bill on mental health. Thank you for passing this bill on whatever, to show that I know what he's doing and I'm appreciative of it. Explain what your concerns are. What is the bill that you want to get passed and why is it important? Most of you guys know that I am a former geneticist, and so I do a lot of research. I do a lot of research of scientific journal articles, and I include those in my emails because, again, I want them to know that I know what I'm talking about and that there's data to back it up. So there's an emotional story of why this bill is important, but then there's also the data to prove that it's needed, right? So always include that, and I will cite them and I'll put a works cited page at the end. And if they ask for the articles, I'll send them to them. And then one thing that I didn't think of when we started working with Senator Bowie is he was very interested to know how other states handle the problem that I wanted to address. And so I then took a deep dive into all of the states and how they handled the issue that I was looking at, and then gave him examples of how other states are doing it. And this way, Arizona isn't setting a precedent, right? We're just following examples from other states, and that tends to help move the legislation through a little bit quicker. So, how can you get involved in the legislative process? Arizona has a really great system and it's called Request to Speak. So, when bills come to the committees and they're doing hearings on the bills, you can go and you can request to speak for or against the bill that is being discussed. So normally you have to activate an account down at the Capitol so that you can get access to the system. However, there's another website, and I put it here and I'll show it to you in a minute. But this organization, if you fill out the form on their website, they will actually go down to the Capitol and they will activate your account for you. That way you don't have to go and take your kids and find the time or find the sitter or whatever. It's hard as special needs parents to get out to do anything, right? And so this company is really helpful in giving us access to this system without us having to leave our home, which is fantastic. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to look at how all of this works. So I'll share another screen. Okay. So how does this work? All right. So this is the website that you can use to find your district. Basically, you put your mailing address here, and then it'll tell you what district you're in. Once you know your district, you can go to that member roster website and you have the Senate roster, and then you have the House roster. So when you get to the Senate roster, you can go down and find your senator. So my senator is Sean Bowie. Here's his email address, right? sbowie@azledge.gov. And then here's his phone number. So all of this information is pretty easy to find once you get onto this website. And then you can kind of figure out who your senator is and who your representatives are. Okay, request to speak system. The request to speak system, like I said, usually you have to go down to the Capitol to activate your account. But this organization, Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, will allow you to fill out this form on their website. And it's not a lot of information. So you put in all of these answers and submit it, and then they will go down to the Capitol for you and activate your account, which is pretty amazing, actually, especially right now. It's just so hard to get away and to get down there. So if you do this, I think it usually takes them like 3 or 4 days before they can get it activated and set up. But once you do this, then you can go into our system. So here, this is azledge.gov/bills. So this will allow you to search for bills on different topics that you might be interested in. For example, this year we have a supportive decision-making bill going through that will give us a little more flexibility with our children between guardianship and conservatorship. And so this bill is making its way through. So put supportive decision making in there, press the search button, and it's working. And it'll find all of the bills that have this kind of terminology in it and give you the bill number eventually. My internet is slow today. That website just looks like it's stuck. Not a happy website right now. Let's see. Let's see if the spina bifida one comes up faster. I know when you pull up supportive decision making, there are a couple more bills that come up. If this doesn't work, we'll move on. But this is generally how you can search for different bills. You can put in different keywords and then the bill numbers will populate. So you don't have to go through all of these. But just to give you an idea, guys, there are just thousands of bills that went through this year. So spina bifida, this is the bill I was talking about. And you can see here that they put in a Senate bill. So Senate Bill 1093, but they also put it in at the House. So House Bill 2540. So once you get here, you can look at the language of the bill by pressing on the PDF or the HTML. That will give you the language of the bill. But if you click on the bill itself, it'll give you its status and it'll show you how it's moving through these different groups. So here you can see that this bill started out right in the Senate, in the House committee, and it got a vote to pass 8-0, right? So this bill is moving out and is moving on into the House, okay? So it looks like it hasn't been assigned a committee in the House yet. They kind of do these week by week, and I'll show you that too. But once it's assigned in the House, then they'll have a committee hearing. So how do you look at committee hearings? So if you go over here to agendas, right, then you can look at different agendas. So Health and Human Services. So in the Senate, the upcoming Health and Human Service meeting, right, is again looking at House bills now. So they've flopped, they've switched sides now. So all of these bills that the Senate will consider have passed out of the House. All right, so if you go into here, you can see that this bill is up for a hearing and nothing's happened yet because it hasn't come up yet, right? So that is that. Now, if you want to request to speak, okay, you're going to go in and you're going to sign in into the request to speak system. Once you're in the request to speak system, you press new request. You can select a committee hearing. So let's say we want to look at Health and Human Services. So these are the bills that are coming up for a meeting today, right? So they're actually probably in session right now. But if we click on the bill, and um, so you can see currently who's for and who's against by clicking on this. And you'll see if you watch committee hearings that the senators are actually doing this. They will go over to the request to speak positions and they'll just see if there's support for this bill in the community. Right, so if we go back again, let's see, we'll go to request to speak. So new request. So if I go to Health and Human Services, search. Okay, so let's say I want to add a request and I'm going to put in my opinion on this bill. Then what I do is I press that new request. I tell them if I'm for it or if I'm against it. And if I want to speak at the committee, so you can say yes, or you can say no, or you can comment. Right now, because of COVID, they're allowing you to speak remotely, which is pretty awesome, actually. And so a lot of people are just zooming in and speaking remotely and giving their 2 cents here. But this is just a really amazing, easy way for us to tell our legislators how we feel about different bills. And that's pretty much all I'm going to review today. If you guys have any kind of questions about how to contact your legislator, how legislation works, what bills are important, I can show you another really amazing website. Let's see what comes up. Let's do developmental, Arizona Developmental Disability Planning Council. So if you go onto their website, they actually have a really neat section here, legislation, and they kind of take you through some of the bills that are moving this year and what they do for our community. And all of these links link back to these legislation websites and they'll show you where they are. But this is a really great place if you're wondering, well, there's a lot of bills. How do I find ones that are important for the community here in Arizona and the disability community? This website's a really great place to start because it'll kind of give you a little mini breakdown of what the bill is and send you over there. And again, you can use your request to speak to put in your 2 cents into what your thoughts are on the bill and whether or not it should move forward. So really, that's all I have for you guys today. It was very quick. It was very expeditious, but I hope it was also informative and showed you just how easy it is to participate in the legislative system. Once you're in the request to speak system, you can forever give your opinion on all of the bills that are moving through our legislation. So I hope it was helpful. I hope it was informative. And I hope that you become an active participant in our legislative process. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching this DAMES webinar. If you found this informative and helpful and want to learn more about DAMES, you can go to our website, www.damesusa.com, and become a member. You'll find over 40 educational webinars just like this one.